Hey everyone, Andy here from Absurd Joy, continuing on our Unity XR tutorial mission campaign. Are we doing a campaign right now? We're up to tutorial number 4. We're going to do Movement Amplifier, which is building on tutorial 1, 2, and 3. So if you haven't seen those yet, scroll back and do that. So, at the end of the last video, you saw me walking around in this space a little bit and waving my hands around in utter delight and joy at the space. But I couldn't walk very far because my office is a little cramped and I want a bit more space available. So there's a few solutions to this, such as teleporting, which I'll get to in a later tutorial. I'm going to do a really simple, experimental, crazy one that you might not like, but it's interesting to think about. So let's give it a look. I'm going to show you our movement amplifier. So first things first. First up, I'm going to fix up this scene a little bit. And I'm going to show you this because I don't want anyone kind of confused as to why their scene looks a little bit different than mine. It'll be really quick though. I just want to move everything because you may remember from the last video 0, 0 is right in the middle of this wall here, and I kind of want the center of our tracking space to be in the center of the room. So I'm just going to click on example assets, and I'm just going to eyeball it by moving it here, moving it there. Yeah, but that looks about in the center. Cool, good enough. So now when I boot up my VR headset, I should be standing right in the middle of the room. But I have the main camera here. I'm going to rename that to my HMD, so that's my headset. I have my left hand and I have my right hand. They're all independently tracking. They don't really rely on each other. They don't need to be connected to each other in any way. However, if I were to do any sort of locomotion like teleport my HMD or do anything like that, if I was going to move my HMD, my hands wouldn't come with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an empty game object. It's called, I don't know what, XR human. And I'm going to put the HMD, the left hand, first zero it out. You have to zero everything out. It's a rule. There's new legislation in the House right now to make it so that everyone has to zero out their transforms. Right, so now I have a human, which is the sum of its parts, the head and the two hands. There we go. And now, if you have VR running, which I currently do, so this is my headset just sitting on my desk. I can wiggle it around, woo. And my hands are here too, I can waggle them. Now, any movement we do to the root game out, you notice if you take the, here, let me show you do the scene view here. There we go. If I click on the head, where's the head? Jiggle, jiggle. So if you grab the head and you try to move it, like it doesn't let you in the editor, like you just have no control over the headset right now. So you can't like teleport the headset around, and you could see the transform position is being updated automatically just by the headset, moving and rotating around. So you can't adjust these values. So if you want to teleport or do any sort of locomotion, you have to grab the root game object, the XR human, and you move it around in the scene, and you'll notice in the game view that it is indeed moving around, right? So we can now place the XR human wherever we want in the scene, and such as 0, 0. Where's 0, 0? Oh, that looks weird. I have it in, there we go. I had it in pivot, not center. Okay, so yeah, you can move around to different spots, and this becomes, teleport here, teleport here, teleport here. So that's kind of the reason for grouping everything together. You can now manage the overall location here from the XR human position. Now, there's a script that we have. It'll be in the tutorial here, but it's also in the tech wiki under, it's not in here. It'll be right here. Look, it's right between these two items right now. So I'll also put a link in the tutorial description where you can find this script, Movement Amplifier. Now, I've already downloaded it, but you can simply drag and drop this script here. Whoops, I missed. You have to get the blue highlight, otherwise it doesn't work. There we go. Movement amplifier. Now, the movement amplifier script will give you a warning here, just to let you know what's going on. But we want to take the source of the movement, which is the headset, and we want to apply this movement to the XR human transform. And what this is going to do is if you set this to just ones, then it's going to double your movement. So you'll move twice as fast in every direction. But if you uniformly scale it, it's just like you're big and tall. So let me show you some examples here. First, I'm going to set it to all zeros so that you can see. I could turn off the scene now too. There we go. Okay, with all zeros, let's take a look at my movement in the space and how far I can move. So I'm just going to put on the headset. And here I am at my back wall, and I'm going to walk forward, and here I am just bumping into my other wall. So I can traverse that much, about that much. So that's my living room space. That's a nice space. Now, if we go here into the movement amplifier and we change this to X1 and Y and Z1, that's a good number there. Now, I'm just going to put on the headset again. And now I move to the back wall. And now let's see if I walk across my living room. See, I'm moving much faster. You see I've actually passed through this wall. If I turn around and I walk back to the other end of things, I can go much further out. So it's actually just about doubled how far I can move in the space. It's almost like I have a hyper movement ability. I'll tell you though, with a setting of 1, it's pretty darn uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. And the reason why I kept the Y dimension, which is up and down, I kept that at 0. I didn't want to amplify my height. But if you want to see what it's like, I'm 6 feet tall. If you want to see what it's like to be 12 feet tall, let's put a 1 in there to double the height. Here I am, a new 12-foot tall human being, able to walk around. Now this feels a lot more comfortable, but it feels like everything's in miniature. And if I bend way down and I try to just lay down on the floor, you can see I'm actually getting way down. So I can still reach the floor. It's not like my height is just a little bit higher, right? So it's a cool little script, and it lets you play with how far you can move in each dimension. Values of 0 are default, again. Values of 1 is double. So what I found is actually a little nice is you leave your height at 0, so you're your normal height always. And you just do 0.2, which is 20% more space in most of the common directions. So what that looks like, here I am, standing at one end, and if it's set to 0, I can't quite make it to the wall, and now I can make it in just barely through the wall here. And this doesn't feel uncomfortable to me at all, but different values will be better for different people. I can move a little bit further out here as well. So yeah. There, that's a fun little script that I made. Lets you play around with movement amplification in various dimensions, and it's kind of a neat little script. You might never want to use it. You might want to do something crazy, like make this one -2. And what's this? Let's make this 0.1, and let's do 0.4. Okay, this is probably going to be a nightmare. Let's see what this even looks like. All right, so I take a step to my left and I go right. I take a step to my right and I go left. Take a step forward and I do move forward and backwards. Okay, this is... You can see my hands are tracking with my head correctly, so you can see which way I'm moving, right? And it feels like I'm scrolling the world underneath me, which is interesting. I wonder what happens if I change the Z to -2 as well. Huh, interesting. So this feels like I'm standing still, and every time I take a step, the world scrolls underneath me. That is really strange feeling, but interesting in a weird way. Fun things you can play with. I don't recommend you put those negative. I recommend kind of a maximum of 0.2, 0, 0.2, but it's a fun little script. And if you want to just follow along with the rest of the tutorials, you can just put this on here, leave these values at 0. It'll be like you don't even have this script installed, and it even tells you that. And you can just tune this to your comfort, and you can just play around with it, make some cool inventions. All right, that's all. That's all.